So my choices were to fight, but I didn't have a chance, or to, beg for mercy and become a part of them. I did not want to be a part of them. The way they lived wasn't the way I wanted to live. So I had one last option, and that option was, this is going to be bad, but I'm just going to take it. I'm not going to fight back. So then the pounding began. Started with one guy, moved to the next guy, throw him to the next guy, and the pounding continued. Now everybody finds themselves in bad situations in life. You never know exactly what's going to happen. As I received a beating from one of the kids, he pushed me over to the next kid. Our eyes met, and we locked. He knew what was happening to me was wrong, but he couldn't do anything about it. He knew that if he did not pound on me, it would be him that was in the center of that grinder. But what was happening to me was wrong. What was he supposed to do? Sometimes you find yourself in a situation in life and you want out of that circumstance. You need to pay attention. God knows where you are at, and He may give you an olive branch. If God gives you an olive branch, take it. But you have to be aware. And after that, step by step, little by little, just little moves. Don't make big moves, just little moves. Follow God. Educate your mind. And you may find yourself on your way out, coming home. And as our eyes locked, that kid started hitting me. And I realized right away, he wasn't hitting me as hard as he could. I knew he could be hitting me a lot harder. But he had to make it look good for the rest of the group. He threw the obligatory insults at me and then pushed me to the next guy. And it continued on until I had no strength left to stand up. And I wanted to continue to stand. Finally, I collapsed right there on the railroad tracks. I received a couple of kicks, nothing too terribly serious from that point on. And I just laid there and laid there. I listened to their voices get quieter and quieter as they were congratulating themselves and laughing as they walked away. I don't know how long I laid there. But slowly I came back into consciousness. And I realized I've got to keep breathing. I've got to keep walking. I've got to make it home. I've got to make it home. Slowly I pulled myself up. Got to put one foot in front of the other. I got to keep breathing. One foot in front of the other. Sometimes that's all you can do in life. One foot in front of another. Finally, I made it to the main road. Normally, I would run across the main road, but I didn't have enough strength to do so. Slowly, I made it across. There was a couple cars that had to actually stop. Then I was on the sidewalk, and I was walking my way back home. I noticed a great big maple tree. Seeing that tree hundreds of times. And I thought, you know, a person could climb to the top of that tree and he could probably see forever. You gotta go home, Ken. You gotta go home. Kept on walking. Then I made it to the house where the couple of old ladies lived. Back of their house they had a flat roof garage. They had grapevines growing over the top of that garage, and I used to really enjoy going to the top of that garage, sitting there on a nice warm day and eating grapes. You gotta go home, Ken. You gotta go home. Keep walking. There'll be time for grapes later on. Now you gotta go home. Slowly I got closer and closer to my house, and I had to open up the gate. It was difficult to open the gate because one of the kids stepped on my hand pretty hard. He didn't break any bones, but I was starting to swell up pretty good. I came into the house, and I opened the door, came into the house, and you know, as a parent, you just know the sound of your kid's voice. When they say something, you just know immediately, everything's fine, or else something's really wrong. And I said, Mom. You could almost hear the dishes drop. She came running into the room, and then she seen me, and I was covered in blood. My face was swelling up something good. It was a wonder that I didn't lose any teeth during that confrontation. My dad worked nights, and so he was in bed sleeping. My mom went and woke him up. As soon as he seen me, he realized this kid needs a hospital. And we went straight to the hospital. The cops met us there at the hospital. The doctors treated me, and that was one good cop, I'll tell you what, right now. When he seen me, he was outraged at the violence that had been imposed upon me. He wanted to know everything that he could know, took all the information, and when we were done, he asked my dad if he would accompany him and me in his car so that I could show him where they lived. That was a hard journey for me because I'd been hit so hard in the head so many times. I was very nauseous, wanting to throw up, but I wanted the cop to know who this kid was, the leader of this particular gang. So we got closer to the house, and I showed him, and the cop's face just fell, and I knew the cop wasn't going to do anything. He made the right decision. This was a hard decision for him to make, but he made the right decision. He took us home. My dad had to carry me into the house and lay me on the couch. And the cop was talking with my dad there in the house. And the cop explained, he said, there's some people in this world that are so bad that there's not a lot that we can do, because they can line up a whole bunch of people as witnesses. They have no fear of God. They'll swear on the Bible. They have no fear of God at all. He said, I could go over there and make those guys' lives miserable for a little while, but I can't actually arrest them. So it's best if I just leave them alone. That way there won't be any retribution for your son. The cop made the right decision. That was a hard call for him to make, but he made the right decision. Life is a thing we live. What do you value? Why do men fight? Why do they want dominion over another? Jesus says, don't let anyone steal your crown. Someone wants to rule your soul. What do you value? If you're to begin this type of a journey that I'm referencing, take a look at what Ezekiel said. Ezekiel also taught about the parable of the fig. Look at that parable. Understand it. Jesus says, understand the parable of the fig. Every person must carry their own cross. Your burdens are your burdens. My burdens are my burdens. Every once in a while, you might have an opportunity to help someone. When I was laying there on that couch, recovering from that beating, my mom came into the room and she said, "Ken, is there anything I can do for you?" I couldn't hardly answer. She said, "I'm going to go to the store and get you some ice cream." At that time in my life, or our lives, ice cream was a high luxury. I had ice cream. Don't give a person tears. Don't give a person useless and worthless words. Do something. Doesn't Jesus say, if you'll give one of these a glass of water even, you will enter into your rest? Understand what he meant when he said that. I had ice cream. That was important. It was a nice thing for me. Empty words are empty words. Empty tears are empty tears. It's what you do that matters. I had ice cream. You can't carry somebody else's burden, but every once in a while, there is something nice you can do. What do you value? Dig deep. Learn these things. Understand these things. Why do men fight? Because there is something of great value at stake. Don't let anyone steal your crown. The only way to protect your crown is to dig deep. If you don't dig deep, someone else will value your crown. If you're the person who needs an olive branch, keep your eyes open for it, and when it comes, take the opportunity. Sometimes it ain't so pretty, but it's a little step. Sometimes it just ain't so pretty, but take the little steps. Start your way back home. Consider these things. Once a job has begun, never leave it till it's done. Be the labor great or small, do it well.